Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Eternal Sonata playthrough. It is time to, just head to the noise dunes of fantasy. Because obviously the barrier is now broken, and we can make it to the proper noise dunes, which will then lead us on to our final dungeon in the game. Obviously there's the optional dungeon, which is still waiting for us. You will actually see the entrance to that in this part, I believe. But I just wanted to make sure that I explored the area fully, and also that I got everyone up to the level that I wanted them to be at, because I believe that we sort of want everyone to be around level 48, at least, before we enter that final dungeon. I can't remember whether the guide I was using said you want to be about level 50 or something, but obviously at this point I started to kind of just go no to some of those recommended level guides, because particularly for the final boss and the optional dungeon stuff, it was recommending like getting up to level 80, 86, etc. It's just like, no. Obviously being that level will definitely help you, but as you can see, right now we're a very long way away from that. A very long way away. And that would take an extortionate amount of grinding. Grinding that I'm just not willing to do, to be honest, because that'd be ridiculous. But also, you don't need it. As long as you've stocked up on items, which obviously, as I've said, with a few decent pictures you can easily do. Really, I would say you want to be maybe about 70 on certain characters to beat the optional boss. Well, you can easily beat the final boss at around 55, I think. So, really, I wouldn't worry too much about your levels for the last stages of the game. As long as you're around level 55 by the time you get to the end of it all, you really should be fine. And, oh, I do love a good Legion Fulminant. Because it's just awesome. Actually, I'm just trying to find out what Legion Fulminant means. And actually struggling. Because yeah, I'm looking at Fulminant and thinking, just what the hell does that word mean?
Turn your sword to me.
Oh, Fulminant means blazing, apparently. So, that would basically be Blazing Legion of some description. There's also this thing called the Legio Duodecima Fulminata, which is the Thunderbolt's 12th Legion, also known as Paterna, Victrix, Antiqua, Certa Constans, and Galliena, which was a legion of the Imperial Roman Army. The Legion's emblem was a thunderbolt on a shield fulmen, and in later centuries it came to be called commonly, but incorrectly, the Legio Fulminatrix, the Thundering Legion. So, Fulminata is obviously thunderbolt. Fulmina means lightning bolts. So obviously It is the Lightning Legion, basically, that uses, and it's a pretty awesome move, and one that I would heartily recommend giving to Frederick, because Legion Fulminante is basically like a super powered up Grave slash Ozelbiali, so it's definitely worth your while having. Now, one thing that I haven't pointed out, with the Noise Dunes of Fantasy, they're a little bit confusing, because you can immediately get to the final dungeon, just keep going straight forward, that'll lead you there. But it's one of those areas that repeats if you go off either side. But it'll change subtly from what I remember. It's an interesting one. And I got a little bit lost here because I'm trying to find an item that I know is around here somewhere, but I just got a little bit lost in trying to locate it. And oh, there it is. Good. Don't know whether it's going to be of any use to us. I mean, it'll do, because we have Midnight Cloud, which is effectively March's version of... well, it's her dark version of the other one that I can't remember the name of anymore. Beat's got a couple of awesome moves now. Annoyingly, Salsa's still pretty much stuck at where she was. I can't remember Salsa getting any other really decent moves, which is really annoying. But... and I think we've pretty much got Polka up to where she's going to get. Pretty much most of the characters have the majority of their most powerful special attacks at this point. They've all got about maybe one more or so to add to the party. But we are all pretty much there at this point. And I think, at least I hope so, that I have actually managed to show off all of them in full echo mode. Because obviously each of them has their own little bit of dialogue, and they're all just really awesome and epic. Obviously some moves are more epic than others. But that's just the way the world works, eh? But yeah, going back to what I was talking about before, with how... ooh! Phantom Pain looks quite good there. It's definitely much better than Mirage Blow, I can tell you that now. But yeah, with the repeating area, I can't remember whether there are treasure chests located in each of these different areas that you can visit, but I know for a fact that if you go either to the left or to the right 3 times, I believe it is, then you will come across the Oasis, which is where our optional dungeon is located. Right now we can't get access to it, probably for the best, because, like, seriously, we'd get slaughtered if we went in where we are right now. But we can at least see where it is, and also get the items that are hidden around it. So that's definitely helpful for us. And yeah, that's basically the trick of the Noise Dunes. Obviously, as I've said, I like the idea of the Noise Dunes because they're just noise. That's effectively all they are. but okay, yeah, you go any way off the side of it, it's exactly the same location, but the enemies respawn, and then once you've reached that far bit, you will then obviously reach the optional dungeon. I mean, I have to say, I'm not quite sure how you're meant to figure that out. Because I'm not sure there's anything actually in the game that tells you where our optional dungeon is located, but there we go. I suppose I wanted to give you a little bit of surprising challenge at the end. And I suppose whilst we're just continuing our journey through the noise dunes, I do want to just briefly mention the fact of I enjoy the end of Eternal Sonata, but I do think that it does sort of go off the deep end. Because up until the end of Chapter 6, it had been a relatively normal Dream World type scenario. In the sense that you had a fantasy world that was very consistent in how it worked. But as soon as we reach Chapter 7, and we get to the Elegy of the Moon, it all becomes very bizarre. Because obviously we have all the spirits flying around, we have the noise dunes, which are very unique to the Xylophone Tower. Oh, Skyfire! I do love a good Skyfire. Pretty awesome movie. It's basically the light version of Vital Drain. But yeah, so the areas at the end of the game here they're very weird, and I do feel quite strongly that the game's final boss actually sort of comes out of nowhere. And I don't think the game does a necessarily good enough job of setting that up, because the final stretch of the game is very, very gameplay heavy. So obviously you get to the Elegy of the Moon, and then you've basically got Xylophone Tower, the Noise Dunes, and the final dungeon, and hardly any cutscenes throughout any of them. So it becomes very difficult to perhaps connect to what's going on. And I've had the feeling that they could have made it make more sense. It sort of does, if you obviously take this world to be Chopin's dream, because we are sort of, as we're coming to the end of the game, you could argue that we are coming towards the end of Chopin's life. And so, as we reach that point, everything's sort of starting to lose its focus, I suppose, in a way. Because everything's getting more disparate and weird as he begins to lose his mind, I suppose. But then I'm really stretching to make that argument. So, it's a difficult one. But either way, we're very, very, very nearly done with the Noise Dunes now.
That was fun.
I think once we head over into the next room, that'll be the optional dungeon location. And I think we only also need... yeah, that's it. Polka's the only one left who... oh no, Polka and Falsetto are the only ones left who need to hit level 48. I think I can live with that one, to be honest. Because they don't necessarily need it. But yes, here is the Oasis. It's lovely and peaceful. There's a big fat door. That's how we get to it. We can't actually do anything with it right now because we don't have the item that allows us to get in. But that's fine. I can live with that. But there is an item located somewhere behind the door, which is what we've come to pick up. And yes, so if you wanted to know where the secret optional dungeon is, it's here. That's how you get to it. We will obviously be coming back once we've gotten to the point of no return. Because only after we've gotten to the point of no return can we actually unlock that set of doors. So that's always a delight. But yes, we get the Tyrant's Crown. I can't remember what it does. I've got it being sort of good. Yes, burst and increase maximum HP by 20%. So that can be a very useful tool, obviously because it increases your attack power, but obviously it does lower your defense, so you're going to get hit harder, but it gives you that extra health to sort of counteract that. And I believe that actually when we go take on the optional boss, I am actually going to make use of a tactic which gives, I think, Jazz the Tyrant's Crown, because
I am not gonna lose this battle.
That way it gives him more output, and as long as you stay on top of healing, you should never actually worry too much about dying, really. And the burst doesn't necessarily have that detrimental effect in the grand scheme of things. So that works out for me. Yeah, I like how these monsters think they're gonna get us, and it's just like... No. Like, we've faced bigger and tougher than you. So, you aren't gonna see another tomorrow. And... here we go. Getting in a white dagger. And, oh, for God's sake! Thankfully that somehow killed him, but, oh well. That gets Sonata up to level 48. I know Polka's not there yet, but, she can catch up. So, now that we've had fun in the Noise Dunes, it's time to head forward to the final dungeon of Eternal Sonata. I think I'm probably going to run and face this dragon before then, but yeah, no levelling up, so he could sod off. Oh, and there's this fella over here as well, but also not another level up. So yeah, just go straight through these archways, and there is the tower, which will lead us to the end of the game. You can certainly tell this is the final dungeon, can't you? It's a big, slow build-up. Lots of lightning and destruction everywhere. This is certainly it. So let's enter the tower and go try and find Legato.